Hi everyone, today I'll be taking us through a step-by-step guide on how to design this mechanical part. But before I proceed, I would like to introduce you to my YouTube channel. So we'll be having a quick rundown of this design. You can see here that it has a cylinder at the middle with extruded height of 60 and external and internal diameter of 60 and 40 respectively. So without wasting much of our time, let's commence. So right on our workspace window, we click on the home button at the user view. Then we select circle and we choose the diameter to be 60. 60 as we know is the external diameter. Then we hit enter. We zoom to fit. Then we choose the repeating command for the internal diameter. But if we observe here, the diameter is larger than expected. So we had to verify. You can see we made a mistake. We meant to have 40 diameter, not 80. So we edit to 40 and now we are correct. So the next command we'll be using will be our presspull, which will presspull to the needed extruded height. It's presspulled upward by 60. So presspull upward 60 and we hit enter. Now we have the first part created. The first fragment of the design created. Now we tilt our view to top view. We want to create the side flange. Now we can see that it is 75 from the design. 75 from the design. Now we made a mistake here. I was thinking it was tangential to the main body, not knowing it was tangential to that. So we now create the next circle, which is 23 mm in diameter. Then we are taking out that because we don't need that. Design, that line. So the right line we need is this line. So we use the offset tool to do that. We offset the center line 23 up, 23 down. Then we use the trim tool to trim out lines we don't need, the excess lines we don't need. Now, what we do next is we select the circle. We want to close the design so we can extrude or press pull it, because if the design is not closed and if it is not joined, we won't be able to use those commands. Now we use the trim to clear out excess lines we don't need. Then now we've tilted our view to isometric. Now we've tilted the view, tilted it now back to isometric. Now we can confirm that the hole on it is 10 mm. The radius is 10 mm, then diameter will be 20. So we locate the center of that first circle because our object snap is on, our circle snap is on. Now we can see after doing that we want to extrude. We press pull now by 15 upwards, 15 mm upwards. You can see now we have the next part of our design, 15 mm upwards. Then up next will be designing the other part. But first we'll be taking the T structure kind of from the top, then we extrude it downwards. Now we can see it is 10, the thickness is 10 mm. And now we'll be making that from the top, as you can see from the design. Just follow both, and the total distance is 75. Total distance from the center point is 75. Now we're going to offset by 5 by 5, so total thickness will be 10. So we offset by 5. Now we offset by 30. Why we had to offset by 30? So we can get the wide part, which is the T, the cross of the T. Then we come coming down here to verify, you can see okay, now it's 15, so we offset backwards by 15, so you can see, to get the complete. Now we're going to use the trim tool. Okay, we're going to use the circle first to close it, but we're having difficulty in getting the points we need, so we had to turn on this snap. We had to turn on perpendicular, go down to 100 snap, turn on quadrant, and then we had to turn on perpendicular snap. So that made it easier for us to locate the points, made it easier for us to locate the exact points. Now we're done with that. Now we're using the trim tool to trim excess lines we don't need. You can see we're trimming out lines we don't need, so we can have the required geometry from this design. And be careful when using the trim tool, so you don't have to trim out excessively. And if lines are not being connected, you can use the delete. Select the line and then you delete if they are not connected. But if you observe, we can't extrude it because it is not joined. So we isolate the cylinder. We're going to isolate the cylinder so we can get the complete geometry, so we can join them and extrude. Because if you try extruding or press pulling, it's going to extrude and press pull as a surface, not as a solid. So we click, we right click, then we hit isolate, and then we isolate, then we hide object. Now we can see the complete design that we made. We select all, then we hit J, J-O-I-N, join, then enter, command join, then enter. We bring back, we end object isolation, and we can see here that it's extruded 45, but we'll be using 30 because here is 15, so we'll be using 30 and we have 15 left for the base. Using 30, select extrude command, then hit 30. Now we are done with that. Then we'll change the plane to bottom, so we can design the base of this. We select our line tool. We're selecting the line tool, then we offset the line tool, knowing too well that the total thickness is 60. Total thickness is 60. Now we have the midpoint, so we offset 30, 30. We offset 30 to the right, then 30 to the left. Then after using our offset command, we are going to now create a circle to join the lines, both lines having the same diameter. We'll be using a 2-point circle here, and for it to make it easy for us, we are going to switch our view to 2D wireframe so we can locate the edges of those lines. So switch our view to 2D wireframe. Now we can see the edges of those lines. Select our 2-point circle, we pick the 2 points of the line, and we are set. Now we use the trim command to trim out excess lines we don't need. Now we'll be joining the geometry. After using the trim command, we join the geometry at the other end to make it a complete geometry. Because it's open currently, now we join and we have our geometry complete. Use the extrude command. We extrude by 15. Then we hit enter. Now we have the base set. We have 2 more things left. We create the rib and also the holes. We have 2 more designs left to create the rib and have the rib with thickness 10 mm and the slant, the height, which is the length from the starter base 25. And we can also see here that we have to create the holes there, which is from the top 15 and also a distance from the center, which is 35 over 2. 35 over 2 will be 17.5. So 17.5 distance from the center, then from the top down we have 15. So we'll be using our line command to create the point. Now make sure that your object snap is turned on. Make sure object snap for edge, mid points, end points, mid points, make sure they are turned on. So we can see here we've created the first line, which is 15. Now we'll be creating the half, which is 32 divided by 2 from the midpoint. We've created that. Now we have the intersection where circle, the center of our circle is going to start from at the other end. Now we do the same for the other end. We go to the left. Now we have 32 divided by 2, then we drop it down. Now we have both center points. We have both center points created. We have the center point. You can see the diameter of that circle is 16 mm. Diameter of the circle is 16 mm. So center diameter. Now 16. Enter 16. Enter. Now we are going to trim out excess lines we don't need. Trim out the excess line we don't need, and then we use the press pull command to create the holes. We use the press pull command to create the holes, and here we'll be using the press pull command. We'll be using the multiple because we are not just creating just one. We don't want to create one then create the other, so we'll be doing both simultaneously. So doing both simultaneously, we are still taking out the lines we don't need. The lines we don't need. So we'll change the view to 2D wireframe so we can see the lines very well. Pick them and delete them. Pick them and then we delete them. Now we have our geometry. Now we're going to use the press pull command. After clicking the press pull, you select the internal geometry. Then you click M. If you look down there, you see where the root M for multiple. Then you select both M for multiple. After you hit your M, you click enter. Then you are able to select both and drag. Select both and then you drag both. You drag both. Now we've created our holes. Now the last thing we are going to create is the rib. We are going to create the rib structure. The rib structure. Switching our plane now to top plane because we'll be creating the rib on the top plane. Then we extrude it upwards. Then we now chamfer. The chamfer is the given height and width. Now we can see the thickness is 10 mm. We're able to do that. We've done that, which is here at the center. Now we can see that also 10 mm 5. Now we want to create the 25. From that edge, pick 25, then at angle 90 degree, we take it out. Now we do same. We pick our line tool. We select our line tool again to create the order for the other. You can decide to just use a straight line. Create for the other, and then we trim. We join the other also. Join the back end of the line so we can have our lines enclosed. Then we use the trim tool to trim excess lines we don't need. Excess lines we don't need. But if you notice, the sketch had to go into the cylinder so as to give us a finite and a definite shape into the job. It's advisable to not do it on the surface of the cylinder. It should have some little, it should go in a little bit. Now we're going to use the extrude. After selecting and joining, we use the extrude command because we have our objects at 90 degree snap on. We just snap it down to the surface and boom, we have our rib created. But remember, it is chamfered. It is chamfered. So we navigate now to, if you look and navigate to solid, Then we'll go to fillet edge. On clicking the drop down, you see chamfer. On selecting chamfer, we select the edge. Now we click on distance. Now we know that from the base down to this 25, then the extruded height is what? That is 65 minus 5. I guess that should be around 40. So we use that, then we've hit enter, and now we've created our chamfer. Now our design is prepared and it's ready. Design is prepared and ready. So the last command we'll be using the union command, because if you look at it, it's as though all parts are still looking apart. So we align all parts, we click the union, type in union, enter, then we select all objects and we hit enter. If you notice, the moment we hit enter, the design became one single design. Thank you, and watch out for our next video.